If I consider array, I can able to store only same data type. And if I want to store different data types, then I can able to use array list. Polymorphism is nothing but the method overloading, and there are two types of method overloading, that is compile time as well as run time. The role of ADO.NET is mainly used to establish connection between application and database. Hello to all, a warm welcome to my question paper discussion session of the year 2021 and the month November and December. I am your Revati ma'am, faculty from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, in my today's session, I am going to discuss the question paper of the year 2021. Now, dear student, let me to discuss question paper pattern. So, dear student, if I consider .NET programming language, I'm going to write this exam only for 80 marks. In the sense, theory exam is only for 80 marks. Now, if I consider question paper pattern, I'm going to have part A and part B. Under part A, I'm going to get 12 questions. Out of 12 questions, I have to answer only 10 questions. And each question carries 2 marks. So 10 into 2, it is 20. So dear student, under part B, I'm going to have 13th main, 14th main, 15th main and 16th main. So here once again I have A and B. In the sense I want to attend from 13th question part A or part B. And each part carries 15 marks. Even if I consider 14th question, same pattern. Even if I consider 15th question, same pattern. Even if I consider 16th question, same pattern. Okay. Now, this is all about question paper. Now, dear student, if I consider part A, see here, answer any 10 questions. And it carries 2 marks. 10 into 2, it is 20 marks. Now, let's start the questions one by one. So, what is my first question here? Define method overloading in C#. So, dear student, I want to explain what is method overloading. I hope all are remember this word overloading. There's nothing but the method overloading or polymorphism. So, dear student, I can have more than 2 same method names. Okay, I can have more than 2 method names but different parameter list. In the sense, I can have add method twice in my program with different parameters. So here there might be 2 or more methods. There might be 2 or more methods in a class with the same name. So this is my method. Okay. And both the method have same name. And what's the difference? I'm going to pass different number of parameters or different type of parameters. So here by changing the number of parameters or by changing the data types. Okay, fine. Now, dear student, let me to consider second question. So, what is boxing and what is unboxing in C#? So, dear student, these words are the familiar words. Okay. So, boxing and unboxing. That's nothing but the typecasting in other programming language. Suppose if I want to convert one data type into another, I require typecasting. And in C hash, I'm going to have boxing and unboxing. So what is boxing? This is the process of converting a value type. So what is the example for value type? That is integer data type, character data type, float, etc. Okay, I'm going to convert the value data type to reference type. So what is reference here? That is nothing but the object is called boxing. Then what about unboxing? It's nothing but the reverse process, in the sense the process of converting reference type, that is nothing but the object into value type. So value type is nothing but integer, float, character, double, etc. is known as unboxing. Now dear student, let me to consider third question. Write the difference between array and array list in C hash. So what is an array? It's nothing but the collection of homogeneous element, and all the elements are grouped under same name. Now, if I want to access the values or element with the help of index or subscript, I can able to access the array element. But if I consider array list, in my array list, I can able to have different kinds of data types. So an array list is not a strongly typed collection. By using array list, I can able to store different data types or same data type. If I consider array, I can able to store only same data type. And if I want to store different data types, then I can able to use array list. So dear student, this is the one of the advantage of C hash programming. In the sense, I can able to store group of different data types together in C hash programming. Now, the fourth question here is, what is the use of inheritance in C hash? So, what is inheritance? Inheriting, that's nothing but the reusability. So, in C hash, inheritance allows us to create a new class from the existing class. In the sense, I can able to acquire the property of the existing class. Then what is the advantage? I can able to reuse the code. If I can able to reuse the code, then it saves time, as well as it is going to reduce the code redundancy. So it provides code reusability, and it also reduces the source code size and improves the code readability. So these are the some of the advantages of inheritance. Now, the fifth question here is, write the syntax defining subclass in C hash. So dear student, I want to write the syntax here. So dear student, subclass is a new class that is created by using existing class. And the syntax here is, the subclass is nothing but the derived class, colon, and I want to specify the base class name. So this is nothing but my parent class, and this is nothing but my child class. Example, class A colon B. Okay, this is the example. So dear student, let me to consider next question, that is, list the operators that cannot be overloaded in C hash. So dear student, this concept comes under operator overloading. And I want to list what are the operators I cannot able to download. In that, and symbol and or symbol. Okay. So the conditional logic operators cannot be overloaded. Even I cannot able to overload assignment operators like plus equal, minus equal, star equal and percentage equal and slash equal. And if I consider some other operators like equal, dot operator, question mark, colon, as well as arrow. Okay, along with that, new, is, size of, type, def. These are the, or type of, these are the certain operators cannot be overloaded. Now, dear student, I am going to have the 7th question, that is, what is a delegate in C hash? So, dear student, when it is delegates, just remember pointer concept. Okay, what is pointer? Pointer is a variable used to hold the address of another variable. But in delegates, I'm going to create the reference. And to whom I'm going to create the reference? To the method. So, a delegate is a reference type variable. So, what is reference type? That is nothing but the object type variable that holds the address of a method. Okay, so I'm going to create the delegate. It holds the address of method. If I consider pointer, it holds the address of variable. So I'm going to replace variables with method. So a delegate is a object type variable that holds the reference to a method. Okay, so how I can able to create the delegate? First, I want to use the access specifier public. Then I want to mention delegate keyword. Int as a data type. Along with that, I'm going to specify the delegate name. There's nothing but my delegates. And these are the parameters. Or I can consider this one as method parameter, in the sense whatever the method parameter I have, for that I'm going to create the reference. So the method parameters as well as delegate parameter must be same. Now the next question here is, what is the difference between right and right line? So dear student, I want to write the difference between right and right line. So dear student, in my program, suppose if I use right, then in single line, I'm going to display the output. So one after another, I'm going to display the output. Then what about right line? Suppose if I want to display the output in one line. Okay, display 1. After that, I want to display 2 in next line, then 3. So, this is the output of right line. Suppose if I use right 1, 2, 3. In single line, I am going to display all the output. Now, dear student, this is the program used to illustrate the difference between right and right line. So, here right, I want to write 1, 2. Okay. Then I want to use right line. By using right line, I want to display 3 and 4. So here 1, 2, then 3 here itself I'll get. Then in the next line it is 4. Okay, so here right line is nothing but the next line. Now, the next question here is write the compile time error in C hash. So I want to tell what is compile time error in C hash. So compile time errors that occurs when you violate the rules of writing syntax. So dear student, think that, okay, I am using C hash programming language to write the program. And if I consider C hash programming, it is case sensitive. For example, if I want to write console, I have to use capital letter C. And in right line, R is capital letter. Okay. Now, I want to follow the rule as it is. And if I violate the rules, then the compiler is going to generate some error. That kind of error is known as compile time error. Okay, so the compiler error indicates that something must be fixed before code can be compiled. And the example here is missing parenthesis. Suppose if I want to execute block of code, I am going to write inside the parenthesis. Suppose think that I have opened this parenthesis and I didn't close this parenthesis. Now what's going to happen? I'm going to get the errors like missing parenthesis. Then printing the value of variable without declaring it. So I'll write console.write of A. But I didn't declare A. Once again, I'm going to get compile time error. Missing semicolon. So dear student, in C hash programming, I want to end the statement by using semicolon. So that semicolon indicates that is the end of the line. Suppose if I forget to place semicolon, then I'm going to get the error. So these are the certain error falls under compile time errors. Now the next question is write any two members of control method in C hash. So dear student, if I consider Windows form, okay, we are going to get different kinds of control methods. In that, you can able to take any controls, that is button control, text control, or label control, or you can able to consider other properties. In Windows form, text box plays an important role. With the help of text box, the user can enter the data in the application. Even you can consider label control. Even you can consider button control. So these are the some of the methods. Now, write the two phases of ADO.NET in C hash. So what are the two phases? That is connected architecture and disconnected architecture. The application remains connected with the database throughout the processing. So dear student, here ADO.NET is mainly used to establish the connection between application as well as the database. Now, if I want to remains connected throughout the processing, so in the sense the application must be remains connected with the database throughout the execution, then that is known as connected architecture. Then what about disconnected architecture? The application automatically connects and disconnects based on the application requirement. The application is going to connect it to the database or disconnect it to the database. That is known as disconnected architecture. Now, the next question here is mention any two .NET framework data provider. So, dear student, I want to list any two .NET framework provider. So, here I have 4 different kinds of .NET framework data provider. In that first one, .NET framework data provider for SQL server. So what is SQL? That's nothing but structured query language. Even .NET framework data provider for OLEDB, object link embedded database. Then open database connection. Even I can consider the Oracle. So these are the different kinds of .NET framework data provider. Now, dear student, I'm going to have part B. So this part B is for 60 marks. Okay. And this entire paper is only for 80 marks, and I'm going to get 20 marks from part A and remaining 60 marks from part B. Now, if I consider part B, so it is 13th question. In that, I have A or B. A or B. Under A, I'll get 1 question and 2 question. I'll get 2 question. It is for 15 marks. And under B, once again, 2 question. Okay, and this is for 15 marks. Now, it's left to the student to select which option they want to attend. That is, either they can able to select A or B. Okay, but 13th question is only for 15 marks. Okay, so 15 into 4, it is 60 marks. Okay, fine. Now, the first question under part B is explain the characteristics of C# programming. First, what I want to do, I want to list all the characteristics. After that, I want to elaborate. And this question is for 8 marks. So, dear student, minimum you have to explain 8 characteristics, and each characteristics carries 1 marks. So, here fast speed, simple, modern programming language, object-oriented, type-safe, interoperability, scalable and updatable, component-oriented, structured programming language, as well as rich library. So these are the characteristics of C# programming. And if you want to get full marks, then you have to answer 8 characteristics, and each characteristics carries 1 mark. Now, what are command line argument? Explained with an example. So, dear student, what are command line argument? It carries 2 marks. Fine. And explained with an example, it carries 5 marks. So, the total marks here is 7. Now, what is command line argument? Before that, let me to explain what is argument. So, arguments are nothing but the parameters that are passed by command line. So, dear student, suppose if I am going to pass the argument or parameter through the command line, then it is known as command line argument. We can send argument into the main method while executing the code. In the sense, during the execution of the program, I can able to pass the argument to the main method. The string args variable contains all the values passed from the command line. So dear student, in my main method, I'm going to have string args, that is arguments, okay, that holds the all the values that is passed through the command line. Now dear student, let me to consider the example program. So using system, and I'm going to create my own namespace. And what is the namespace here? CS, that is C# program, and my class name is program. And see here, public static main, I have string args and console.writeLine arguments length. I want to know how many arguments I have. For that, I'm going to have args.length. Here, length is nothing but the property, and I'm going to access the property with the help of object args. And I want to print all the values one by one. So here I'm going to use for each loop, and all the values are present under args, okay, and I'm going to access the parameters one by one by using for each. In the sense, if I pass 3 arguments, then this for loop is going to execute 3 times. So this is the way I can able to write command line argument program. Now the next question, what are looping statement in C#? Illustrate with an example. So looping in the sense what? Repetition. There are certain time I want to write the same code again and again. Okay, when I write same code again and again, what's going to happen? The length of the program is going to increase. At the same time, the complexity of the program is going to increase. So what I will do? I'm going to use the looping construct here. So looping in a programming language is the way to execute a statement or a set of statement multiple times depending on the result of the condition to be evaluated to execute this statement. So there are 3 types of looping construct, that is while loop, do while loop and for loop. So dear student, this question is for 8 marks and the definition carries 2 marks and example carries 6 marks. So dear student, I just want to illustrate the use of looping. Okay, so here I have taken while. So dear student, it is left to you. You can take do while, or for loop. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to print .NET programming 4 times. So while x is 1, 1 less than or equal to 4. Okay, how many times I want to repeat this code? 4 times. Now, dear student, I'm going to have my next question with an example. Explain string handling method. So, dear student, with the example, I want to explain the different types of string handling method. So, first one, it is to upper string. So, dear student, I want to convert this string into uppercase. For that, I am going to have to upper. So, to upper function converts string to uppercase. See here, I have written my name is Revati BD. Fine. I am going to convert this into uppercase. And what is the output? I'm going to get everything in capital letter. Now, string to lower. This to lower is used to convert the strings to lowercase. In the sense, I want to convert uppercase to lowercase. For that, I'm going to have to lowercase. Now, the example here is, see here, I have written my name. My name is Revati BD. Now, I just want to convert all this into smaller case. For that, I'm going to have string dot to lower. Now, dear student, I'm going to have another method, that is trim. So, what is the need of trim? There are certain times I want to remove unwanted space. Okay. So, trim function removes extra space from the beginning and end of the string. Dear student, think that I have given some space here. Okay, now I just want to remove the space at the beginning or at the end. Then I'm going to use trim. Then what about contains? Contains method returns Boolean value. It checks whether specified string or character exits in the string or not. So, dear student, it is used to check whatever the character or whatever the string I have specified that is present in the string or not. For that, I am going to use contains. So, it's going to return true or false value. Now, dear student, my 14th question here is, write various access specifier of C# programming with an example. So, dear student, if I consider C# programming, I'm going to have 5 different types of access specifier. Public, protected, internal, that is protected, internal and private. So, here access modifiers or access specifiers are used to restrict the accessibility. Okay. Now, let me to consider the different type of access specifier. Public. So, it is public to the entire program. It specifies that access is not restricted. Everyone can able to access public data or public method or public class. Then protected. It specifies that access is limited to the containing class or derived class. Internal. It specifies that access is limited to the current block or current assembly. Then what about protected internal? It specifies that access is limited to the current block or current assembly or derived, that is types derived from the containing class. The next one is private. It specifies that access is limited to the containing type. So, here containing type is nothing but the class or within the method. Now, let me to consider simple example here. Okay, so what is my class name? That is student. And here everything is public. There is no access limit. Everyone or throughout the program, I can able to access the class, access the fields as well as access the methods. So, here I have student, here also I have student. So, why? What is this? This is nothing but the constructor. So, dear student, when I have method name same as my class name, then it is termed as constructor. Okay, this is the example for parameterized constructor. So, dear student, if I consider this program, there is no access limit. And see here, I'm going to create the object of the class student. And when I create the object, at the same time, the constructor is going to initialize and the value 1 and asterisks are assigned to R and string. Now, okay, I want to display the value one after another. So, dear student, first I want to display the roll number. Then I want to display the name. Then I'm going to display the roll number as well as I'm going to display the name. See here, with the help of object, I can able to access the fields like S roll number and S name. Because it is public, there is no restriction. Even I can able to access the method because once again it is public. Now dear student, I'm going to have another question, that is write a note on abstract method and abstract class. So dear student, what is abstract? It's nothing but a blueprint. So abstract class is a restricted class. Abstract class is a restricted class. I cannot be used to create object. So dear student, suppose if I create a abstract class, then I cannot able to create the object for that. Then abstract method. If I consider abstract method, I can have only method signature. And where I'm going to write the implementation? In my derived class. Even I can able to abstract class in my inheritance. Suppose if I want to access abstract class, then it must be inherited from another class. So an abstract class can have both abstract method and non-abstract method. In the sense, in my abstract class, I can able to create abstract method or non-abstract method. Now, this is the example program. So here, what is my class name? Area class. Okay. See here, I'm going to create the abstract method and this is my abstract class. So dear student, according to the explanation for this class, I am not able to create an object. Now what I want to do, I just want to inherit this class. So this is my parent class now. This square is nothing but my child class. Okay, fine. Now I'm going to inherit parent to my child. Okay, fine. Now, dear students, see here. Now I'm going to create the object of the type square. Now with the help of S, I'm going to call the method area. And if I consider this area, it does not have any method body. Now where I'm going to write the body? In my child class. See here, I'm going to write the implementation. Now dear student, let me to consider another question, that is, what is polymorphism? Explain with an example. So dear student, here polymorphism is nothing but the method overloading, and there are two types of method overloading, that is compile time as well as run time. So here compile time is known as static polymorphism and runtime is known as dynamic polymorphism. So a polymorphism, poly in the sense what? Many. Then what about morphism? There is nothing but the forms. So many forms provides the ability to a class to have many, that's nothing but the multiple implementation with the same name. So here method name remains same, but each method will have different implementation. Now dear student, let me to consider this example. So what is my class here? That is nothing but the adder. In this adder class, I have the method called multiply. So here once again I have the method called multiply. But what is the difference here? See, this method takes only 2 arguments and this method takes 3 arguments, and the argument type is same, but the number of arguments are different. Now see here, in my class I'm going to call the method with the help of class name. So adder dot multiply, I'm going to pass the values. Now the job of the compiler is to identify the method based on the parameters or based on the number of parameters or based on the return type. Now dear student, I'm going to have my another question, that is write a program for overloading binary plus operator. So dear student, this question comes under operator overloading. So what is operator overloading? We are going to change the meaning of the operator. So dear student, if I consider plus operator, okay, this plus operator is used to add 2 numbers, or it is mainly used to perform addition operation. Now I want to change the existing meaning of this operator. For that I'm going to have the operator overloading. Now dear student, this plus operator is used to perform binary operator overloading. Okay, so I want to write the program to perform binary operator overloading. So dear student, what is my class name? That's nothing but the calculator. Now I have the numbers as well as I'm going to have the constructor. There are 2 types of constructor. One is default constructor and this one is parameterized constructor. Fine. Now dear student, see here, I'm going to write binary operator overloading. Okay, so I'm going to overload plus operator, and what are the parameters? It's of type class. So calculator cal1 and cal2, and this is nothing but my, see, I'm going to create the object of the type cal3. Okay, by using this object I'm going to access number 1. Okay, so this is cal3 dot number equal to cal2 dot number and cal1 dot number, and I'm going to return cal3. So it's nothing but the object, and I'm going to display the number. Now see here, in my main method I'm going to create number 1, number 2 and number 3. So these are the 3 different objects, and I'm passing 240, and this is for default constructor. Okay, and these 2 values for parameterized constructor, and I'm going to add num1 and num2. Okay, and I'm trying to display num1 value, num2 value as well as num3 value. So when I call num1 dot display, I'm going to get the answer 200. And when I call num2, I'm going to get the answer 40. And when I call num3, 200 plus 40, it is 240. Okay, fine. Now, dear student, if I consider 15th question. So, explain how delegates are created and implemented. So, dear student, we discussed same question in our part A. So, what is delegate? It's mainly used to create the reference. And to whom we are going to create the reference? To the method. Okay, fine. A delegate is a reference type variable that holds the reference to a method. It's like a pointer. The reference can be changed at runtime. Delegates are especially used to implement events as well as callbacks. So, declaring delegates. How can I declare delegates? To declare delegates, I want to use the keyword delegate and I want to specify the return type as well as I want to specify the delegate name and I want to specify the parameters. So, dear student, to define delegate, I must use the keyword delegate. So, dear student, this is the example program used to illustrate the use of delegate. So, dear student, what is my namespace? That is nothing but the delegates. Inside this, I am going to create my delegate. So, this is the new delegate I am going to create here. And what is my delegate name? That is my delegate. And to create this delegate, I am going to use the keyword delegate. And see here, for this method, for this sum, I'm going to create the reference. Okay, for this method, I'm going to create the reference. See here, what is the return type? Int. So, delegate name must be same, int. And if I consider the parameters, how many parameters? 2 parameters. So, delegate parameter must be same. Now, suppose if I want to invoke delegate, I'm going to use the keyword invoke. So, this is all about delegates and it carries 8 marks. Now, dear student, delegates are the reference type, but instead of referring object, it refers methods. So, dear student, it carries 8 marks. So, 2 marks for the explanation and 6 marks for your program. And delegates have no method body. See here, if I consider this delegate, it does not have any body. Now, delegates are type safe, object oriented and secure. Delegate is a function pointer. So, what is delegate? It's nothing but the function pointer. Delegate encapsulates method. A function that is added to delegate must have same return type as well as same signature. See here, signature, that is nothing but the parameters. Okay. So, these are the certain points you have to remember while writing delegates. The next question, write a note on standard numerical format with example. So, dear student, I want to define what is standard numerical format. So, standard numerical format strings are used to format common type of string. For example, think that I have 120 rupees. Okay, this is nothing but the string. That is nothing but the numerical string or common numerical type. Now, I just want to format this numeric type into some standards. For that, I am going to have standard numeric format. So, here standard numerical format string takes the form. I want to specify the format specifier and I want to specify the precision. For example, if I want to display the amount in terms of Indian rupees, then it is 120 rupees. So 120.00 I can able to write. So here this is nothing but the format specifier and this is nothing but the precision. Now dear students, see, this is the example I have and I have some format specifier. C is nothing but currency, D is nothing but decimal point, F is nothing but fixed point and N is nothing but numbers. Now let me to discuss the program here. So what is my class name? That is demo. Inside this, see, I have some numerical format and I want to represent this numerical format in terms of standard numerical format. So string dot format. Here also I am going to specify string dot format. In the sense I want to format this string, that is 3 decimal places. In the sense, see here, these are the output. In the sense I want to display 987.383. If I consider 987.380. Okay, so here 3 decimal place. Now, if I want to consider 1000, okay, I want to consider 4 decimal places. Okay, so this is all about standard numerical format. Now, dear student, I am going to have another question. What is an exception? With an example, explain how exceptions are handled. So, exceptions are nothing but the runtime errors. Okay, to handle the runtime error, C# programming supports try, catch and finally keywords. So, dear student, I'm going to write the executable codes in my try block. During the execution of this block, if this block generates any error, that must be catched by the catch block. So here C# programming supports try and catch block. So here try, okay, whatever the code I want to execute, that should be written inside the try block, and if that code generates any error, that can be handled by the catch block. Now, if I consider this example, A is 10 and B is 0 and I'm trying to divide 10 by 0. Obviously, it's going to generate an error. Okay, that must be handled by the catch block. So, what kind of exception? See here, exception object E. Okay, it's going to throw the exception. And what kind of exception? That is divide by 0 exception. Now, dear student, I'm going to have another question, that is explain how to throw our own exception with example. So, dear student, here try, catch as well as finally blocks are used to handle the exception. But we can able to throw our own exception. For that, I'm going to have the keyword throw. Exceptions are used to indicate that an error has occurred while running the program. Exception object that describes what kind of error, okay, what kind of errors are created, and then it throws with the throw keyword. The runtime then searches for the most compatible exception handler. So, dear student, by using throw, we can able to handle our own exception. So, dear student, see here. Okay, what is my namespace name? That is throw2. And what is my class name? Number generator. And I'm going to create my own exception. For that, I'm going to use throw. Okay, new index out of range exception. Okay, see here. I'm trying to divide 10 by 0. So, it generates an error. Okay, that can be thrown by using throw. Okay, this is the way user can able to throw their own exception. Now, dear student, I'm going to have 16th question. Under that, A, in that first main, explain the GUI. So that is nothing but the graphical user interface namespace provided by the .NET framework. So dear student, if I consider .NET framework, it provides system.drawing. So this is the main graphical user interface. Under this, I'm going to have system.drawing design, system.drawing design 2D, that is 2-dimension, system.drawing.image, system.drawing.printing, and system.drawing.text. So dear student, it carries 8 marks. So you have to elaborate any 3 GUI. For example, system.drawing namespace. The system.drawing namespace defines basic graphical user interface. So dear student, it is mainly used to fill and draw the object. So this namespace contains the graphical class that is mainly used to fill and draw the object. That's nothing but the graphical object. It also provides classes to encapsulate fonts, brushes, pens, as well as rectangles. Now, if I consider system.drawing.design, it is mainly used to design graphical user interface. Okay, so it provides custom toolbox items, graphic editor, as well as text converter. If I consider system.drawing.drawing2D, then this namespace defines functionality to develop advanced 2-dimensional graphics. Okay, so these are the certain GUI provided by the .NET programming language. Now, the next question, briefly explain the anatomy of a form in C#. So dear student, Windows form is a graphical user interface class library which is bundled in .NET framework. The main purpose is to provide attractive graphical user interface. So its main purpose is to provide an easier interface to develop the application for desktop as well as tabs. It is also termed as WinForm. Okay, WinForm can be used only to develop Windows Form, and to run Windows Form, I required desktop system or laptop. Now, the next question here is explain radio button as well as checkbox in Windows Form control. So, dear student, I want to tell what is the use of radio button as well as checkbox. So, dear student, in Windows Form, radio button control is used to select a single option. For example, if I consider gender, I have male and female. I want to select either male or female. So, only one option. For that, I am going to have radio button. Now, if I consider the properties, auto check. Okay, this property is used to check the property of the radio button. So, automatically it's going to check the property of the radio button. And font. Okay, this font property is used to set the font style for color. This property is used to set the foreground color of the radio button control. Now, checkbox. So, dear student, whenever I want to select multiple options, then I can use checkbox control. Okay, it's a part of Windows form which takes input from the user. In other words, checkbox controller allows the user to select single or multiple option. For example, if I consider the subject .NET, software engineering, Python, Android, etc. Okay, now I want to select multiple subject. In that time, I can able to use checkbox. Dear student, the last question under 4th unit here is, what is the need for ADO.NET? Explain its role. So, what is ADO.NET? That is ActiveX Database Object. It is a module of .NET framework which is used to establish connection between application and database. Okay, I have the application and I have the database. Now I want to establish the connection between application as well as database. For that, I'm going to have ADO.NET. So, data sources can be SQL Server or HTML. And ADO.NET consists of classes that can be used to retrieve the data or insert the data or delete the data. Now, dear student, ADO.NET contains two main data access components, that is data provider as well as data set. If I consider SQL, Oracle, that is OLEDB, object linking embedded database. These are the example for data provider. So, the .NET framework data provider used to connect to a database to run commands in the database. And finally, it's going to retrieve the result from the database. So, these retrieved result can be processed directly or can be placed in the data set object. So, now what is data set? Here, data sets helps to store the records or retrieve the records from the data source. The role of ADO.NET is mainly used to establish connection between application and database. So, it is mainly used to provide consistent and reliable access to various data sources like HTML file. That is nothing but extensible markup language files. It also provides data access to OLEDB. That's nothing but object linking embedded database and open database connection. Okay, these are the certain roles of ADO.NET. Anyway, dear student, this is all about .NET subject as well as question paper. Anyway, dear student, thank you for supporting me and thank you for watching my videos. Anyway, thank you.